Hello and welcome, I'm Joshua Barnes and you're watching The World Report. Let's first take a look at the top headlines. Wildfires ravage Los Angeles, killing 5 and causing over $50 billion worth of damage so far. President Joe Biden cancels his trip to Italy to address the escalating crisis. An Israeli hostage has been found dead as tensions rise with 3 IDF soldiers killed. Hamas reports that 51 Palestinians died in the past 24 hours. A Russian missile strike on Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia region claims 13 lives. Civilians and infrastructure bear the brunt of escalating hostilities. Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro is set to be sworn in as protests erupt in the country. French President Emmanuel Macron signals support for the opposition movement. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum on Wednesday responded to Donald Trump's controversial suggestion to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Sheinbaum countered with a proposal to rename North America as América Mexicana or Mexican America, a term used in an 1814 founding document before Mexico's constitution. Standing before a map during her daily press briefing, Sheinbaum pointed out that the Gulf of Mexico, bounded by the US Gulf Coast, Mexico's eastern states and Cuba, has been recognized internationally since 1607. With a sarcastic tone, she remarked, "That sounds nice, no?" Trump made the suggestion about renaming the Gulf during a press conference on Tuesday, where he also discussed his desire to take control of the Panama Canal and Greenland. Sheinbaum's response came as part of a broader discussion of the region's historical significance and the importance of maintaining territorial recognition. We'll head to our correspondent, Aditya Wadwan. Aditya, before we go on to the comments by Claudia Sheinbaum, I'd like to explore Trump's rhetoric and his comments on foreign policy over the last couple of days. What does this show us about his potential foreign policy moving towards his inauguration?
Well, Josh, you see, Trump is, known for making such unpredictable statements and, some weird statements that he has been, because we have seen that during his first term also he had made such very crazy like making statements. But, in this context, let's just put this into perspective. Greenland, as Donald Trump has expressed his desire to buy Greenland, that is actually there is actually a reason behind it. Greenland is known to have many rare earth elements, which are crucial in the production of energy technology as well as vehicular batteries. Because since throughout the globe there is a move towards electric vehicles, this could be one of the possible reasons as to why Trump had had expressed his desire that he wants to buy Greenland. And talking about his his vision of making America great again, making Canada the 51st state of United States of America, renaming the Gulf of Mexico as Gulf of America, and buying Greenland can be constituted as his desire to make America great again. Yes, George, back to you in the studios.
Let's now go to Patrick Pine, an international affairs expert. Bringing it back to Claudia Sheinbaum's comments, there was an air of sarcasm over what she was saying. However, do you think this is papering over the cracks? We know Trump has announced threats of tariffs against Mexico, and it seems those relationships are only further dividing.
So there are 3-4 reasons why Trump is saying these things. There is a method in this madness. It's not just blabbering as it appears to many. First and foremost, America is making it very clear that the sphere of influence of the United States is going to be absolute so far as North America is concerned. There has been apprehensions about rising Chinese intrusion and Chinese interference so far as governance in Canada is concerned. There is a very big issue of illegal immigration via Mexico through Texas predominantly that happens into the United States. And these are factors because of which Trump is making these statements. Number one, let me make it very clear, when any incoming president makes these statements, They're not just for the heck of it. He has been a businessman. So he notes that what he is doing basically is to set the ball in motion. There will be discussions, there will be arguments, but eventually, let me also reiterate one thing. Canada is being termed as the 51st state. I mean, he called Trudeau the governor literally. Why is he doing so? He is doing because Canada behaves like the 51st state of United States. You know, it actually behaves like a vassal state. It exactly does what United States tells them to do. It is heavily subsidized by United States. And at the same time, you know, United States gets access to the Arctic Circle through the sovereign rights of Canada in the northern parts of Canada. If United States takes over. Now, I am not saying all the Canadians will be going gung-ho and support it, but there is a certain amount of jitter even among the Canadian politicians. That's where they're trying to, you know, counter it, refute it vehemently. Because if there is a referendum tomorrow, you never know what could happen. At the same time, so he is giving a bait. And at the same time, let us also understand, for quite some time, Canada has been told about illegal immigration that happens via Canada. It's an open border. And the Chinese interference, China is literally using Canada as a place for, as a listening place for, you know, keeping an eye on the United States. So there, I believe from 2025 onwards, you would see a global reset of maps happening across the world. It may not have happened in the last few decades, but this has been a norm for a long period of time. Ultimately, if it is all about controlling resources for which conflicts happen and perhaps for which the Biden administration engineered the conflict between Russia and Ukraine to possibly create a regime change in Russia and eventually get access to the Arctic, then I think Trump is doing exactly the same thing, bypassing Russia and taking over Canada, because both are more or less the same kind of access to the Arctic region. Last but not the least, Russia has 19 operational bases in Arctic region. US has very, very minimal presence. Given their huge repository of oil, gas and rare earth minerals, which both you know, the Arctic Circle, the Canadian access has, as well as Greenland has, I don't think Trump will allow it to go away. For Greenland, let me make it very clear. Greenland, how much does Denmark pay to Greenland or give to Greenland every year? Perhaps $1 or $2 billion. If there is an offer by the United States that I'm going to give Greenland $50 billion a year and you would get American citizenship, I don't know how many people of Greenland can absolutely refuse that offer. So I think we have interesting times ahead. If United States does something in terms of which, you know, it might still remain a sovereign country, a de facto separate country, but for all practical purposes, its foreign policy, finance, and military will be controlled by United States, which already almost it does, almost. So I will not be surprised. Some kind of arrangement might be there, but let me very clear, there will be realignment of maps both in Eastern Europe as well as you never know what happens in Far East and South China Sea. So global reset of map is the reason why all these things are happening. I don't take these things too lightly. These are things being done. There is a method in this madness. That's all I want to say. Back to you.
We're also joined by another international affairs expert, Dr. Sandeep Tripathi. Looking at Claudia Sheinbaum's response, do you think she chose a sarcastic tone because of fear? Do you think she's concerned that the threats from Trump might be followed through, unlike in his first presidency? And do you think that's why she's chosen not to go with a stronger response to claims that Trump's making about lines that have been drawn, as we mentioned earlier, as the 1600s?
Sorry, could you repeat?
Yes, not a problem at all. I'm looking to explore Claudia Sheinbaum's rhetoric in her response and why she chose a sarcastic tone as opposed to a more combative tone, considering the gravity of what Trump is stating, considering the gravity of the tariffs that are in place. Do you think there's fear behind her response, or do you think it's looking at appeasing tensions rather than escalating them?
See, I don't see any surprise, any unexpected response from the Trump. See, first of all, we need to know that the basic philosophy of the Trump politics. Trump politics is known make America great again. So make America great again is not nothing new. See, let me remind you, in 2029, when he was the first time president, and he floated the kind of idea about the Mexican as well as the Greenland also. So what he is now, he's pursuing his philosophy of make America great again. Even he came into the power with the kind of territorial expansion. Americans, supported Americans voted him just because of the aggressive nationalism. And see, the territorial expansionism, territorial ambition of the Trump is the logical outcome of his philosophy. So one by one, first Canada, then Panama, then Mexican, and then Greenland. These all the reflection of the Trump, and Trump is threatening in terms of the tariff threat. See, we have seen in Canada and we have seen in Mexican. He has proposed 25% on Mexican imports. And let me tell you about the Greenland. See, the history and the culture and the geography. The people of the Greenland, even Denmark, France, Germany, they all opposed. They are
Dr. Sandeep Tripathi, sorry to interrupt you. I really want to focus on Mexico and I really want to focus on the response. We've already spoken about Greenland and Denmark, and I want to look at that relationship between the two North American nations and look at the response that we've had from Sheinbaum. Can we go further into that and the tensions that are there between the two countries?
Hello. Sorry, I couldn't get your point. Your voice is not clear.
Dr. Tripathi, I'd like to look at the relationship specifically between America and Mexico. We've spoken already about Greenland and Denmark and Panama, but the relationship between those two North American nations, how do you think tensions are so strained, and why do you think the rhetoric from Sheinbaum hasn't been combative?
See, about the particular talk about the Mexican. See, at the time, during the time of election campaign, there was fierce opposition among the Mexican people, the kind of migration issue as well as the tariffs. So Trump is going to impose the tariff threats, and as well as the tariff threats is not only the one issue. Actually, he wanted to annex and the name. See, what kind of he proposed the name? The name is Gulf of Mexico, but instead of the Gulf of America. And response to this statement, Mexican government responded that why not the Mexican America? So this is the tongue of war. But we need to understand that Trump's ambition, especially territorial expansion, this is somehow the legitimacy of the Trump politics. And he has to respond to American people that yes, he stands this kind of line of politics, what he is pursuing. And the entire wisdom, especially neighboring countries I'm talking about, first of all, he has diverted his American attention from the other region. And he is focusing about the America First politics. So America First politics, make America great again. This is somehow the logical conclusion. First attack on Mexican. And this is Mexican government highlighted the map, the history, and the culture. So, by history, you can't, by sovereignty-wise, by nation, statehood-wise, you can't annex, you can't threat. But this is the dilemma, and this is the irony, this is the paradox of American-led liberal order, what America preaches and what America practices. We have seen America exports democracy, human rights, and liberal order. And now, under the Trump politics, we are watching that the kind of territorial expansion, the kind of sovereignty humiliation, the kind of small neighboring countries, they are insecure. That's why EU member, NATO member countries, France, Germany, and Denmark, they are very apprehensive. So this is clear. America has been exposed by itself. So don't preach lesson of liberal order, a liberal order that respect upholds the sovereignty. So I think this is a clear violation of the sovereignty and the statehood, and this is the right time to rethink the member of the EU countries as well as the NATO countries, because the Denmark is a member of NATO country. France is the member of NATO country, Germany is a member. They all are very apprehensive. But I'm sure that this is the line of Trump politics. This should not surprise, and this is not unprecedented.
Dr. Tripathi and also Patrick Pine, thank you very much for joining us. We'll stay in North America amid the raging wildfires across Los Angeles that have killed at least 5 people so far. US President Joe Biden has cancelled his upcoming trip to Italy. He'll focus on the federal response to the wildfires as per reports. Biden had been due to travel to Italy on Thursday through to Sunday, likely his final overseas trip as president. Here is the report.
Multiple fires burning in Los Angeles County on Wednesday prompted evacuation orders and warnings and destroyed more than 1,000 structures and homes.
Era nuestra vivienda con mis hermanas y lo hemos perdido todo prácticamente. Las llamas han consumido todos nuestros sueños de años aquí. Quedó vuelto cenizas todo acá.
More than 5 people have lost lives to the raging wildfires so far. The Palisades fire exploded in size as powerful winds hit northwest Los Angeles, forcing the evacuation of at least 30,000 residents in the affluent community of Pacific Palisades. The Eaton, Hearst, Lydia, and Sunset fires are also burning. One, the Woodley fire in La Sepulveda Basin, was extinguished relatively quickly after charring 30 acres, as per reports. Amid these raging wildfires, the White House announced Wednesday night that President Biden has cancelled an upcoming diplomatic trip to Italy because of the wildfires burning in Southern California. The decision came after Mr. Biden met with fire officials and California Governor Gavin Newsom in LA earlier Wednesday and was briefed on the wildfire response. The showbiz capital has been besieged by multiple out-of-control blazes, with Hollywood events including a glitzy awards show and a Pamela Anderson film premiere among those cancelled as firefighters battle flames in hurricane-force winds. Meanwhile, next week's unveiling of the Oscar nominations was pushed back until January 19th, to give Academy members affected by fires more time to cast their ballots this week. Having destroyed perhaps hundreds of multi-million-dollar homes, the Pacific Palisades fire looked set to be one of the costliest blazes on record. AccuWeather said it estimated up to $57 billion of losses. Bureau Report, NewsX.
We'll stay in North America for more of the latest news updates. Donald Trump has shared inflammatory video content calling Benjamin Netanyahu with crude words. This comes just weeks after the Israeli leader claimed the two had a very friendly, warm discussion about hostage negotiations and Syrian policy. The president-elect posted the clip to Truth Social, featuring economist Jeffrey Sachs, who accuses Netanyahu of manipulating US foreign policy and orchestrating endless wars in the Middle East. A man has been arrested on Wednesday for trying to bring a machete and knives into the US Capitol Visitor Center, police have said. US Capitol Police said officers spotted the machete in the man's bag as it went through the X-ray machine and found 3 knives in the bag. Police briefly halted security screening on the north side of the visitor center, but it has since reopened. Federal Reserve officials expressed considerable uncertainty at their meeting in December about the future course of the economy and especially inflation, giving expectations of what the incoming Trump administration may do in terms of policy. Minutes of the meeting released on Wednesday show that with one exception, members of the Fed's Open Market Committee voted to lower interest rates by a quarter point, but signalled the likelihood of fewer cuts to come in 2025. Among the most senior officials in Ottawa, there is a document circulating that outlines specific details about how Canada could retaliate against Donald Trump's tariff threat. The list includes hundreds of American-made goods that Canada is considering hitting with retaliatory tariffs. Steel, plastics, and Florida orange juice are part of the list. A British Columbia Supreme Court judge says a class action lawsuit alleging Home Depot violated its customers' privacy when collected and sharing their information after email purchase receipts can proceed. The lawsuit alleges Home Depot gathered information when BC customers opted for email receipts, including the purchase price and brands bought, then shared it without consent with technology giant Meta. The hit musical Wicked has topped nominations for the Influential Screen Actors Guild Awards, which are key to Oscar's glory. While Golden Globe's Darling, The Brutalist only got 1 nod and Maria star Angelina Jolie was shut out. Wicked, the big screen adaptation of the Broadway smash, earned 5 nods. That is all we have time for. We'll be back with more of your latest international news updates.